What's good, fam? Just want to welcome you back to our Monday night leadership learning tips and best practices. Now, we're all in this journey of cultivating our leadership together, which we have been defining it as the cultivation of our influence or our ability to impact the world, the culture, and the people around us for the glory of God. Now, in this journey, I've discovered many things, and there's something that has been coming up numerous times as I took, time just to introspect in my own leadership growth, and as I've had conversation with different leaders in our community. There is a question that keeps on being brought up again and again, and it is simply this: how do I live in this new life that I know Jesus has already given through his death, through his resurrection? And it's supposed to be a meaningful, it's supposed to be intentional, passionate, and a purpose-driven life. But yet I find myself still feeling like I'm so busy, so drained, so overwhelmed, and so stressed out. How many of you can relate to that? Right? Now, today I wanted to share my learnings with you from a book that I've been so blessed with called At Your Best by Pastor Carey Nieuwhof. And the topic that I want to specifically tackle today is dealing with 3 life-draining patterns in your leadership growth and also in your apprenticeship to Jesus. So these 3 life-draining patterns act like black holes in your soul life. And if you don't catch it, no matter what you do, you're going to constantly feel like life is slipping away from you. And you can hear a lot of common advices and tips from either Psychology Today or healthy lifestyle magazines, and essentially it addresses whenever you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed out with your crazy busy life. Here's what you do, and here's what you commonly hear. Number 1, make sure you have enough sleep. Number 2, make sure you eat right and exercise. Number 3, make sure you maintain a healthy social life. Now, these are all solid advices, and there's only a few problems with it that I feel like I have. Number 1, you already know all that, right? And number 2, if that's all that it took for you to get the meaningful, passionate, intentional, purpose-driven life, then you would have already done it, and you would have reached your Zen state, your avatar, your Dragon Ball state, right? Your Super Saiyan state. But the truth is, you're exhausted. So, and third, even when it's practiced, doesn't it feel like it barely takes the edge off? Another regular piece of well-intentioned healthy tips is simply this: take more time off. Make sure that you get regular days off each week and take the full weekend. Recharge and renew, and you should take all your vacation time. And if you happen to be one of those highly favored, highly blessed people who gets 4 weeks of paid vacations, then God bless you and more power to you. Again, these are all great ideas, but here's the truth. Long vacations, proper sleep, and even exercise rarely solve the problem of burnout and the overwhelming feeling of being drowned with busyness. It's only a band-aid solution for a moment, but it won't sustain you in the long run. Why is that? And I love how Pastor Carey Nieuwhof addressed this. He says this: time off won't heal you when your real problem is how and what you spend your time on. Your time off won't heal you when the real problem is how and what you spend your time on. So taking a day off or a vacation as a solution to feeling chronically overwhelmed is about as strategic as telling an alcoholic that you should stop drinking on Thursdays. You know what he's going to say? Well, thank God it's Friday, and slip right back. So plus the danger of this way of thinking, when you're thinking days off are your answer, it leaves you longing to be somewhere else. So what happens is when you're longing to be somewhere else, you're no longer present here and now, right? And then you spend your life working for the weekend or for the time off. Living for time off is just another form of escaping. So days off and vacations are good, but they were never meant to be a complete solution for an unsustainable rhythm of life. You know what would be a solution? You ready? Here it is. A sustainable rhythm of life. That's going to be the solution. So how do we then develop a sustainable rhythm of life? First thing that you need to realize, the life you're living now is a series of patterns that shape your story. In fact, your life consists of series of ongoing patterns. And most of us are far more creature of habits than we would like to admit or we would like to realize. And some of the patterns you currently are repeating have taken you into what I call the life draining zone, or a life draining cycle. It's a place where you feel like you're perpetually overwhelmed, and there's this spiral of despair where you're overcommitted and you are overworked. And in this book, At Your Best, Pastor Carey Nieuwhof lays out actually these three different patterns. And let's see if you can spot some of these cycles in your own life. Number one, you ready? Unfocused time. Unfocused time. Now, you and I get the immense gift of time handed to us every day, but we live like we never have enough of it. Anybody? One of the key reasons is our failure to focus time. I'm guilty of this. We have a tendency to treat all waking hours as though they're the same, even though they're not. Now, have you ever experienced this? Have you ever had an intense discussion, not an argument, an intense discussion with your spouse at around like 3 p.m., right? A lot of people have. Now, how many of you have ever gotten an intense discussion with your spouse at 3 a.m. in the morning? Okay, now I'm willing to bet that time that you choose to spend your intense discussion in will probably create two different experiences, right? This is because for most of our waking hours, we haven't learned to really channel our time intentionally. As a result, we usually do our most important things randomly, squeezing them into leftover slots, or sometimes not handling them at all. And if we continue to do this, what's going to happen is this: we will miss out on using our most productive hour to do what we are best at. So not focusing your time means you don't intentionally assign specific activities to designated time windows. Interruptions and distractions will dominate your unscheduled time. So even when you set aside a few hours to get things done, your time usually gets killed, stolen, and destroyed. That's what the enemy has come to do, right? And you'll get frustrated with other people interrupting you and taking up all your time. But as you'll see, the reason why other people don't value your time, maybe it's because you don't value your time. Or at least you haven't learned how to yet. Because the management of your time is an indicator of your value concerning time. The management of your time is an indicator or the measurement of your value concerning time. So consequently, you live in a constant sense of time famine. Your to-do list only seems to expand, and the gnawing sense of scarcity and poverty, there's never enough time, keeps on growing. And your answer to solve all these things is to try harder and get more efficient, but nothing seems to relieve the tension or solve the problem. But here's the good news, is that having unfocused time is 100% fixable, and we are going to do it together. Amen? Awesome. Second thing, unleveraged energy. This is the second black hole. This is the second life-draining pattern. Unleveraged energy. Have you ever felt like you're competing with time for time? In the midst of your pursuit to make time for just about everything that you add to an overly busy life, very few of us pay attention to our energy level, other than to complain about having low amounts of it, and that's why we drink tons of coffee or tons of energy drinks to try to recover from this lack of energy. But this unleveraged energy springs from a lack of understanding of our own personal rhythm, our own personal energy level as they rise and as they fall through the course of the day. Not leveraging your energy means you squander your most productive hours where you are most energetic, where you are most focused. Not because you intend to, but because you don't know when they happen or how to schedule your life around them. So when you finally get to the most important task or people, you're way too exhausted, you're way too tired to engage deeply, or at least you feel like you're less engaged than you could be. Vocationally, your most important work usually suffers because you don't spend your best energy doing it. And relationally, your family and those who are close to you rarely gets the best of you. And so we are together going to focus on how we not only focus our time, but we're going to learn how to leverage our energy, right? And lastly, the third life draining cycle is when you have an unhinged priority. Your priority gets unhinged when you allow other people to determine what you get done. Have you ever felt like, in spite your drive to get ahead, you end up spending much of your day responding to the daily bombardment of messages, texts, emails, DMs, and other interruptions, right? And this leads you to feeling like you never had enough bandwidth to get things done, to get the things that you're supposed to do done. And people whose priorities get consistently unhinged usually are those who haven't learned yet to say no. And often they don't even realize that you're allowed to say no. Even if you do understand that saying no is important, maybe the struggle is you don't know how to do it in a way that doesn't burn bridges or offend people. And what happens is this internal pressure builds up into an obligational burden that you were actually never meant to carry. And as a result, you are trapped in a feeling of perpetual exhaustion. I don't know about you, but aren't you glad for the gospel of the kingdom of God? I'm so glad that Jesus declared that he is the way, the truth, and the life. I'm so glad that Jesus became our new way, our new truth, and our new life. He becomes our new pattern. He becomes our new lifestyle. And when we pattern our daily activities after his life, we are enabled to be our best, so we can do our best when we are at our best without the feeling like we have to be the best. And I love what Jesus says in Matthew 11, verse 28 to 30 in the Message translation. Check this out. Are you tired, worn out, burnt out on religion? Come to me. Does this sound like a beginning of an infomercial, right? Get away with me, Jesus says, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take real rest. Walk with me and work with me and watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythm of grace. So I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. And we're going to take a look at how we practice this. Those three practicalities, those three patterns that can drain you, or it can be a new pattern that can give you life. And this life-draining pattern, almost everything is random or based on like this OCD rigidness because you don't have a strategy, right? So how you spend your time is either random or you spend it with a begrudging attitude. So you're not really thinking about your energy level. So you tackle things in a scattered way, squeezing them whenever or wherever it's possible. Interruptions and distractions keeps you from realizing your priorities. So you haven't really thought deeply about what does it look like when you're at your best, right? Like for real, like what are you best at? And you're not sure exactly when you're at your best most days. Death has patterns, but so does life. And the opposite of this death draining cycle or pattern is something we'll call the life cycle, the life patterns. And at the heart of the life patterns is the habit of being our best so that we can do our best when we're at our best. And so for me, being my best and doing what I'm best at and when I'm at my best has completely revolutionized my life. I feel like I'm able to generate more productivity, but moreover, there's a sense of joy and rest for my soul. And this rest comes from, like, among other things, the assurance of knowing that when I'm fully aware that I'm fully loved by God, then I am at my best. So then when I'm at my best, I can do what I'm best at when I'm at my best. For a good chunk of each day, as I get time, energy, and priorities working for me. And then my effectiveness soar. Work is far better, and my home life has a quality and an overwhelming sense of peace. So we're going to learn how to walk and live in the unforced rhythm of grace. We're going to learn and apprentice under Jesus by focusing our time, leveraging our energy, and realizing our main priorities. Because when these three things are working in sync, we move into the life-giving cycle, a virtuous loop that will carry us far more effectively through the days and decades ahead. And once we start to master these patterns and principles and strategies in the life-giving cycle, the result, as you'll soon see, is that dreams will get acted on. Hope is no longer deferred, and a lot more will get accomplished in less time. And this may come to no surprise to you, but the strategies of life-giving cycle are essentially the opposite of the draining life cycles, right? And sometimes the key of success really is to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing, right? Like buying when everyone is selling and selling when everyone else is buying. And that's true when it comes to our personal habits, our rhythm, our discipline. This is just a brief overview of the life-giving cycle because, well, that's what we're going to be spending time on in the next couple of weeks. And as we explore these patterns in detail and learn how to apply them in practical ways, we're going to see some breakthroughs in our life. So leaders, I'm excited. How about you? I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.